these Dutch farmers, they have been asking me also what it's like in the US, because this is a global issue. This is on an international scale. And I said, something that is different from the United States is we do have a federal government, but our states are run individually by our elected government for the states. So you get Republicans, they are not for climate change. You live in a Democratic state, they're for climate change. So I don't know if we will see exactly what we are experiencing here in Holland right now with the national citizen uprising against climate change, because we do have protections by states, but it's coming, and it's coming to everywhere, it seems like.
Yeah, you're very lucky in the United States where you do have the Constitution that restrains your federal government from doing these sorts of things. But for Canadians, we can really relate to what the Dutch are going through, because I live in an allegedly conservative province, and yet we have our federal government imposing climate change targets on us through carbon taxes that keep rising and emissions targets. And so as Canadians, we see what's happening in Holland and we say, how long till it's here? Our prime minister is not one to be out virtue signaled by any other leader in the world, especially someone like Mark Rutte. He'll say, oh yeah, me too, and then some. And so it's very worrying for Canadian farmers like myself in particular. Now, I wanted to ask you, you've been talking to a lot of the farmers. What is the one thing, the one big takeaway that you are getting from these farmers? What's the one thing they want the world to know?
They want the world to know what's going on. They were so thankful that we are here to share their story. These farmers, they are losing their livelihoods. They are losing their farms that they have had for generations, up to hundreds of years. But most importantly, they wanted to spread caution. They wanted the world to know what's happening in the Netherlands, because it's just a matter of time before it happens to everywhere in the world. So through the World Economic Forum, that's really where everything's coming from.
Now, you've been working with our team there, and our team has noticed that there are Canadian flags turning up in these protests. And I think it's great because, when you see the freedom protests in Cuba or Venezuela or Hong Kong a couple of years ago, you would see the American flags as the symbol of that sort of uprising and liberty around the world. But we're seeing the Canadian ones turn up in Holland. And I think that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that just goes to show how well you guys did with that trucker convoy. I think that was a beacon of hope around the world to give the green light for other people to start standing up to tyranny, standing up to areas that are potentially going to be under dictatorships. And I've seen Canadian flags. And you're right, I have not seen American flags. And what the Dutch are doing is they are flipping the Dutch flag upside down, and they are tying a red bandana to the top of it, which symbolizes solidarity with the farmers. So you don't just see that in one area. You see that all across the Netherlands. I have yet to go to a place that hasn't had an upside down flag, a bandana. And there's polls that came out that said roughly 85% support the farmers uprising against the government. And we, in our team, we went into Amsterdam to try to find a different perspective, because after speaking with the farmers, that they said that they think that the city people are out of touch. And yes, usually bad policy does come from cities. But after speaking to people inside the city, they were for the farmers. So that 85% seems to be accurate so far. And it just goes to show that the Dutch government is out of touch with the people, and there's a different agenda going on.
What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, you also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because we rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.